Hello, I'm Jane Dutton with a wrap of the week's news. We start with this. The biggest, most spectacular sporting event on the planet officially kicks off today. The Olympic Games in Paris have begun, and South Africa is there in force.
The official opening of the Paris Olympic Games is on Friday night, but the first of the events started on Wednesday with the men's rugby sevens and the men's football. The Springbok sevens team overcame 2 defeats on the opening day and bounced back with a resounding 44-point win against Japan in their last pool game and a stunning 14-7 victory over New Zealand in the quarterfinals to make it through to the semi-finals. The Blitzboks remain in contention for South Africa's first medal at these Olympics and the team's first in the event since 2016, but will have to beat the host nation France, who they'll play in the next round. Kickoff on Saturday afternoon is at 3:30, while the other semi will see the defending champions Fiji up against Australia at 4 p.m. Mawande Mateza, Eyewitness News Sport.
Police in Mpumalanga have arrested 95 Libyan nationals for allegedly running an underground military camp in the province. Preliminary investigations have revealed that the camp on a farm in White River was initially designated as a training site, but appears to have been converted into an illegal military training base. The Libyans entered South Africa under the guise of wanting to be security guards. They've since been taken into custody and are currently being questioned. And here's history in the making. Mandisa Meyer is the first woman to become South Africa's Chief Justice. President Cyril Ramaphosa's office announced Meyer's appointment on Thursday night. The current Deputy Chief Justice, Meyer, will take over from Raymond Zondo when he retires from office at the end of August.
We look forward to working with Justice Meyer as she undertakes this huge responsibility, but we also will hold her accountable.
During an overnight raid at Johannesburg prison, we saw that anything goes. Drugs, weapons, TVs, gaming consoles, whatever you want, you can get. Correctional services say they are now meddling with technology to stop cell phones being used by inmates in prison. The Department of Correctional Services and police conducted a raid at the Johannesburg prison where they found all of this contraband.
Well, we're currently at Johannesburg Prison, otherwise known as Sun City Prison, where the Department of Correctional Services, together or accompanied by SAPS, are conducting a search and a raid of some of the inmates here at the medium A section of the prison. It's quite a large courtyard, and I'm sure you can hear behind me, there's a number of dogs, sniffer dogs, that have been brought in from DSC and SAPS to kind of assist them in unraveling or finding where the drugs are and cell phones or anything that these inmates might be hiding. But you can see out here, I mean, it's not uncommon for inmates to find ways to get drugs, be it dacha, be it any sort of drugs, or even muti and cell phones and electronics into the prison. If you can see down on the floor, mattresses have been ripped apart, and that's because prisoners find innovative ways to hide certain things that they're not supposed to have in prison. Now, officials here this evening have been able to uncover a number or find a number of cell phones, electronics, drugs, devices that are used to smoke drugs such as dacha or nyaupi, and a number of inmates here are being searched for anything they might be hiding. Now, this specific section of the prison is quite large, and we have inmates about 30 to 40 staying in a cell, and in this cell there's a number of things that have been toppled over by the DCS officials in trying to find what they may have been hiding. Some of the inmates here are obviously not happy about this, but you know, DCS are cracking the whip and trying to ensure that inmates are not getting certain things into the prisons. We just know that yesterday at Ermelo, a correctional center in Mpumalanga, 2 DCS officials were caught and arrested by the department itself for having assisted in smuggling items into the facility.
This week, we've also been witnessing the extraordinary race to the White House, featuring US President Joe Biden, the US Vice President Kamala Harris, and Republican candidate Donald Trump. Whether Biden was pushed or he fell, he has pulled out of the race. And it's turned deeply unpleasant and personal with Trump spewing anti-Harris bile.
So now we have a new victim to defeat. Lion Kamala Harris, Lion, L-Y-I-N apostrophe. The most incompetent and far-left vice president in American history. By the way, they did a poll. She was rated the worst vice president in history. I've never seen that poll before, but that's the poll.
Some analysts believe Harris has a good chance of beating Trump in the November elections.
She's a woman who has always surprised oppositions, and she's a comeback kid. And she did very, very well as vice president.
And we wish South Africa's top athletes well in the Olympics, which kick off today. It's known as the greatest show on earth.
My name is Julia Vincent, and I'm competing in the springboard diving event. I got into diving just by going to high school. Honestly, I just saw the diving boards when I went to Kingsmead College in Joburg, and I saw the diving boards and thought that looks like the most exciting thing to do. And so I absolutely loved it. I started it and I was obsessed from day one, and I just never looked back. When I'm diving, I go through a lot of different motions and emotions, and it is so nerve-wracking. It's such an interesting sport. It really challenges you in so many different ways. I love the feeling of leaving the board. There's really an unmatched feeling. My goal is to keep progressing from each round. I want to make it to the semifinal, and then I want to make it into the final. And if I get my chance in the final, of course, I'm going to be going for a medal.
And just remind you, if you're living in the Western Cape, another storm is heading your way.
Unfortunately, the rains continue, but we are on the ground conducting assessments and helping every single community we can who is in need. We have been able to help with kits where possible, compromising of plastic sheeting and nails, and relocations where it is needed.
And we'll see you next week. Have a good weekend.
Eyewitness News, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, log on to ewn.co.za or ewn.mobi.